Welcome back, everyone. Mike McConville here, Stratford, Ontario, Canada for String Tech Workstations. And this is a very early Robert Godin Norman guitar, and in typical Godin fashion, he was radical and bold and adventurous and was not afraid to try new things. We have this early neck joint. Yeah, it's essentially like a Strat maple neck on an acoustic guitar. Radical? I'd say it was radical for the time. Good idea, bad idea? I don't know. Depends on who you're talking to. The neck itself has no issues. It's like the day it was made. We're gonna look at a bunch of different issues that I'm sure came back to haunt him, and other issues that have kind of stood the test of time. So here we go. We've got our 4 dowels. Those 4 dowels index into that huge head block. Then there are 2 very long bolts that go up through the back of the guitar, and then the holes are covered by these kind of press-fit furniture buttons between the edge of the sound hole and the bridge. It's kind of dipping in quite a bit. But you know something? Not one brace has let go. So everything's hanging on. For those of you who have watched my videos, or any of my students, level 1 or 2, you've heard me talk many times about the angle of the neck to the body, the 6 different planes that you have to consider. Now, what's happened with this over time, like it does on most guitars, is this neck is kind of pulled up. And it's not that the neck has pulled away from this edge of the head block, but the whole head block has kind of tipped forward, and I'll explain why. You can see that the way this guitar was made, this was made in its entirety, and then this was plowed out. So they cut through the head brace, and the head brace's function is to stop that sort of imploding at the neck-to-body junction. Well, that weakened it. But of course, Robert was thinking, well, what if I put a big monster head block in there, which he did. You can see the size of that head block. It sweeps away from this edge down to the back. Now, here's the thing that I find very unusual. Let me flip the guitar over. So when we look where the bolts go, you can see the head block, and it does not touch the back at all. So the only point of contact is along the line of the kerfing. I'm actually doing a bit of re-engineering here, and I'm going to kind of fill that gap inside here where it's just airspace and glue these walnut pieces. They'll butt up against the back brace and kind of fill that space and create a footprint. This will solidify the head block. So another thing, in case you haven't noticed yet, that is very unusual about this guitar is the back, the sides, and the top are all made out of spruce. The entire guitar is made out of spruce. And that includes the spruce braces on the back, spruce braces on the top. So this body is 90% spruce. Very unusual guitar. It's an interesting study. Anybody that's been in this game for any length of time, at least 40 to 50% of what they do when it comes to repairs, you are re-engineering, and you're maybe correcting something that wasn't quite done right the first time. So I'm essentially restructuring that neck-to-body junction, and this is going to allow me to drop the action down and set this guitar up so it plays beautifully. Of course, we'll do the compensated nut and a compensated saddle at the same time. So these 2 walnut shims are going to be glued to the back on either side of the center splice. They'll push in under the head block where you see that gap. This end of the brace will butt up against this back brace. Now here I have a 1/4 sawn spruce shim that I'm going to glue into place here. A couple of reasons I'm doing that. Because I've seen in the past these head blocks actually break along the mahogany grain. Gluing that cross grain 1/4 sawn spruce patch will dissuade that from breaking. I have tapered this shim. It's thicker on this end, thinner on that end, and that's how we're sort of tilting the neck back to get the action where we want it. So we're accomplishing 2 things: strengthening the head block and correcting the neck to body angle for the optimum action. I've opted to go with a high density foam block and then that lead weight to press that shim into place. Inside the body, I've put actually a rosewood bridge blank across those two walnut pieces and then gently set those lead weights into place. So we'll let that whole configuration set overnight, and then we'll come back in the morning.